All right, everyone, welcome back to episode 3 of our Wally Bites Lake Leaders video series. Joining us today, we have Rich Groo and Nick Spinelli from the Tafton dive team. Thank you, gentlemen, very much for joining us today and spending some time with us. I wanted to get started and jump right into introductions. So for any viewers who maybe aren't familiar with the Tafton dive rescue team, can you just give us a little bit of background, explain a little bit about the organization, your responsibilities, that type of stuff?
Sure. First off, I'm Rich Groo. I'm the dive captain. And then we have here Nick Spinelli. He's the dive lieutenant for the dive team. So basically, if the tones go off, something goes down on the lake, we respond to it no matter where we are. We try to, coordinate through cell phones and stuff like that. We'll head to the boat depending on where each one of us are at. We have other members of the dive team that will respond also, and we'll try to coordinate our best as possible to, get to the event as fast as possible.
And how many members would comprise the team? Is it, and I'm assuming it's all volunteer?
Yeah, we're 100% volunteer, as is the fire department component. So we're part of the Tafton Fire Company. So all of our fire and rescue and dive is 100% volunteer. Our EMS is a paid outfit. Emergency medical services, our ambulances. And as far as divers, we have 8 divers on the team, and then various people functioning in surface support roles, boat operators, sonar operators. Sometimes we do all 3. A lot of it depends on what the call is. Who's available, if there are other people who can take over on surface support, that's always a good thing. If we're doing a dive call, Rich might be the first person in and I might be driving the boat, and then we might switch out later on. After he's done with his dive, he'll drive the boat, I'll dive. So it's every single time we go out, it's just a cooperative group effort.
Right.
Yeah, it sounds like you have to be flexible, and whoever's available is going to step into the right position. That's awesome. Where exactly are you guys located, by the way?
So we're located in Tafton on 507, just shortly away from 390 there. Most people should be familiar with Tafton area. You'll know where the firehouse is.
The northeast shore of the lake. So we're where the dike with the benches, that's sort of like the iconic lake wall view that most people have. That's part of Tafton. Our coverage district goes all the way from the bridge over the old Dry Creek bed down to about where the escape is, Greentown area. So we cover basically the entire northeastern shore of the lake until we get down towards Greentown, at least as far as fire and ambulance is concerned. But then, once you get out onto the water, the dividing line between Pike and Wayne County goes down the middle of the lake. So we're technically a Pike County company. And then our sister team at the other end of the lake, Ledgedale Dive Rescue Team, is a Wayne County company. So but once we get out on the water, it's sort of, everybody's coming together in a group effort.
But is that to say that you guys can't cross county lines, or, how does that work?
So our primary coverage district is in Tafton and Palmyra Township.
Okay.
We have sort of a designated primary district that's ours, but then mutual aid call outs, we have responded to as far away as I think Wyoming County.
Yeah, we've gone.
Wow. Wow.
We'll do
We've
the
actually
whole
had
Northeast.
calls from up into New York, all the way down to Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, down by Quakertown.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So.
I'll tell you what, you guys almost got a call from me last year. I'll share a little fun story, I guess. Ed and I were out on the boat fishing, and let's just say there was an unfortunate accident on the pontoon where a $1,300 iPhone might have fallen into the water. Maybe My wife wasn't very happy about that. So it's kind of, well, let's just say it's still down there somewhere.
Hey, give us a call. We respond to cell phones all the time, you know.
If you really want to make your wife unhappy, you should lose your wedding ring.
I'm smart enough to not do that.
Yeah. I threw my wedding ring from my dock throwing football, and the ring came flying off, and we looked and looked, metal detector. It must have been way out there. But yeah, I mean, we've all lost stuff. And obviously you guys do many, many more important things than finding lost material items for people. I just had a quick question, and maybe a couple follow-up questions, but how do people get in touch with you when there is a situation? I'm not sure if this is like this similar, you call the 911 number, or what do you recommend?
Yeah, if it's an emergency, it's
911.
911 for everything.
Okay.
First thing.
You know, if you lose your boat anchor, you know, reach out to us through Facebook. Obviously, that's not an emergency.
Sure.
We get called out all the time to look for stuff that people drop.
Weekends
boat
are busy.
anchors,
Yeah. Boat anchors, cell phones, keys,
rings,
sunglasses.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. You know, if it's and that's another. It's a great question, so that we can clarify. You know, everybody calls 911 for everything. You know, if you have a bona fide emergency, yes, dial 911. But, you know, if you run out of gas, that's not a life or death emergency. We're real fortunate right now. The last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years,
Correct.
US towboat has an operation on the lake, and that's great because, you know, there were summers where we'd get 15 or 20 calls for disabled boats because the motor died or they ran out of gas or the battery died. It's another thing. If you're hanging out all night long, turn that engine on once in a while so you don't run your battery down. But we used to get 15 or 20 calls for incidents like that, which aren't true emergencies.
Sure.
And now there's actually an outfit that can help you, you know, if you have a mechanical issue or you run out of gas.
Yeah, I think
so in those non-emergency cases, Facebook, social media, those types of things, maybe call the fire company directly. Is that okay?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And you can find the phone number for the fire company, for our fire company, for Ledgedale. You know, those are their website. Everybody's got a website, and everybody's got phone numbers on Facebook.
Yeah. I think it's a great point too about, you know, towboat. I mean, we know Kevin, the New Wave Marine and the family over there. So we're pretty friendly with them. And I think, you know, they do a good job at helping people when they are in trouble from that perspective. Yeah. Nick, you mentioned an interesting thing about the kind of changing of roles sometimes between whether you're driving a boat or somebody's in the water. And I think that leads me to my next question, which is, one, what type of certifications do you need to be on the dive team, since it is all volunteer? And two, this one's just for my own personal curiosity. Do you have any boat captains and is that a requirement from emergency services or anything like that?
Let's start with the dive side of things.
Okay.
So when, you know, you can come to us as somebody who has never even picked up a scuba tank in your life, and the company will provide the training and the equipment, minus a few personal items,
correct,
to get you through that process. It's a substantial investment for us. For us to take a person from day one to the certification level where we're comfortable putting you in the water to search for a human, you know, salvage a boat. You're looking at about a $15,000 investment in training classes and equipment.
How long is that process in training and certification?
Yeah, it's a couple of years.
Yeah.
You know, it's, if you can find all the classes, you know, back to back, you could theoretically do it in maybe 6 months, but it takes a lot of time to master some of the skills.
A lot of diving too.
Yeah, it takes a lot of in-water time to get your skill level up to the point where you can go after those higher level certifications. So that's on the diving side. And there, there are a lot regionally, there are differences in some of the certification classes and what agency is certifying you. But, for us, we do have a list that we ask people, if you want to be a rescue and recovery diver, we have a list of classes that people have to take. And then for the boat operation side of things, for you to come out and operate the boat, we ask somebody who's just a beginner to take the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission's boating safety course, which if you're out on PWC, you have to have that. If you're driving a boat, I don't care if you're 12 years old or 112 years old, you should take that class. It's just even, and maybe once every 10 years, it's a great refresher.
I couldn't agree more to that point. And my son just, he was 12 last year, so he just went through that process, and I did it with him. I didn't help. I just but I totally agree. It's something every single boat ready person should go through. So I agree with that.
Yeah. We take it a step further. The U.S. Boating Association has a couple of different training classes, and it covers things that you don't often run into on inland lakes, but nonetheless, it's really important boating information. And we had a guy involved with the company for a number of years who's an instructor for that. So a bunch of us went through those classes.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, really
advanced boating emergency class.
Yeah, procedures on what to do, on how to upright, say, a capsized sailboat, or man overboard procedures, even ways to if you're in a bow rider or a cuddy cabin, and ways to come off plane where you're not going to swamp the back end of your boat, or equally as important, in a low profile like a bass boat.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just a lot of different things that we do that are several steps above what the ordinary everyday person is doing in terms of recreational scuba diving and then recreational boat operations. It's just a couple notches above for a lot of the stuff.
I mean, that's so great. And those are some really good answers. I think, there are going to be people coming away from this video and saying, I had no idea kind of the commitment, what was involved, the costs associated with it. So I think that's great. So in the water, I imagine that most times, and maybe I'm wrong, you're kind of down there blind, which leads me to my next question, which is about the technology that your team uses, in a sense to maybe help you see or identify objects. Can you speak to a little bit about the technology that you incorporate into your exercises, your rescues, and some of that information?
So as far as like personal technology, we all carry really, really bright flashlights. And in some cases that works out. And, if you have too much, particulate matter in the water, you get like a flashback from that. So you don't really, you can't always use a flashlight, so sometimes that works out.
Yeah.
It's a little bit.
We do a lot of, if we're doing a search, we have like what we call a jack stay, and we can set up some ropes and stuff, and we'll go along and do it with that. You can do it if you don't touch the bottom and you don't murk it up or mess it up, which is almost impossible in this lake because it's up and down, the terrain's awful. We could use our flashlights and run along the bottom with our rope. Other equipment that we have, Nick will speak of, he's more of the sonar guy. So
yeah, we, the personal stuff is when we find an object of interest that we want to check out. But as far as the utilizing technology as a matter of risk reduction, 25 years ago, if you had a missing person, you'd need 60 divers. I mean, you'd need just a tremendous amount of people, and just to sort of cover an entire area where you're searching. One of the things that happens a lot when we are looking for somebody is we get very general information about, well, they went down there and we think it was about 50 feet out. And in water where your visibility, I mean, sometimes during the year, the visibility is 6 inches. Sometimes you're looking at 6 feet, maybe 20 feet in the springtime.
It's one really Sunday, good. It was 5 feet, so.
So it takes a long time. So in terms of reducing our risk by putting somebody into that environment for a long period of time, we try to use sonar. And we started out with sonar about over 10 years ago, maybe 12 or 13 years ago, with a side scan unit, with a towfish side scan unit. And then the technology on that was fairly mature at the time.
Mm-hmm. 12 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have since then, we have hull mounted sonar. We have a Humminbird Solix 12. Solix 12. So that's sort of and we have the 360 unit with it. That's sort of the risk reduction that we utilize is, we try and find objects of interest before we go and put a single person in the water. And the hull mounted sonar has, it has limitations. With the depth of the lake, we're not able to get quite the level of detail that we need. That towfish unit is what's able to get down into the deeper parts of the lake and get us the images that we're looking for. We're in the process right now of seeing if we can't configure a towfish with a different transducer on it so that we can have both systems, that we can have the towfish option as well as the hull mounted.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it was last year I reached out to you, Rich, and you actually worked with us to provide us with some side scan imagery that your team had collected over the years. Right. And some of the stuff that we were able to see from that was spectacular. I think I remember one picture you sent us, you could actually clearly make out, I think it was 2 divers, right, and even the air bubbles coming up from their masks.
I love that picture.
Yeah, it was very neat.
Some of the other ones, if we had more time, I could show you. Like, so you can see the fish. You can actually see the debris, the sticks, the trees, the branches in the lake. If you
probably a lot of fishing lures down there too.
Right, there's a ton, which brings it, to one of our biggest hazards.
Right,
we're looking for a body, a human, anything that we're down there looking for. The entanglement dangers are just tremendous. It gets scary and sometimes.
Rich, I'm glad that you brought that up, and you've mentioned kind of the bottom of the lake. I mean, for one, I'm happy because I know other lakes like Raystown could be maybe 200 feet. I mean, I think our deepest point is maybe 66. I'm not sure. But what does, and maybe you can speak to, what does the bottom of the lake actually look like as far as its consistency, the floor, and is it different from one end of the lake, maybe where like the river comes in versus the north side, what I'll characterize the north side where the dam is?
Right. So where the dam is, it's obviously the deeper end of the lake. The channel is, most of the trees, most of the sticks and the branches. That's where most of your fishing line is. Your boat anchors, there's ropes, there's some trees. We actually pulled the side-by-sides out a few years ago, and there were trees there that were probably, I'd say 20, 25 feet tall, still with branches on them, still to this day. Now they flooded the lake in the 20s, so that makes a big, when you guys are fishing, everybody's out there fishing and they get they cut their line, whatever, and just an entanglement danger for us, but there's parts that used to be fields out there in the lake, and it's just smooth, desolate, looks like a desert, in some parts, so
sand, sediment.
Yeah, it just basically depends on where you're at. And I mean, Sunday I was diving, it was all rocky, it was giant rocks, it was great, there were fish in the crevices and everything. It's sometimes it's fun, sometimes
we want to know right where you were exactly. Can you map that for us?
And also tell us where those trees are that are standing up, because we'll avoid those areas.
right down the river.
So when the lake was constructed, all of the timber that had any value, say for lumber production, was harvested. Everything that was left below a certain elevation was just left to stand. So they're tall trees, but they might not be any bigger around than say 4 or 5 inches. There might be some that are a little bit bigger than that, but everything that was below a certain elevation, they were able to leave. The stuff that's up a little bit higher, of course, at this point, it's either been hit by a boat or dragged out during one of the maintenance drawdowns on the lake. So there's not too much in the upper levels of the water, but
Mhm.
there are definitely a bunch of areas where, you get right into standing of trees. And then there's some places where it's just a whole bunch of trees laid down on top of each other. We've done anchor searches for folks, and it's like I don't even know how they do it. The chains are like woven in between all these trees. I'm not talking about I'm talking about trees that are like this.
Yeah.
Just laying there.
Yeah, I know we've been, I mean, we don't have the technology that you guys have on your boats, but we have your everyday fishing sonar and down imaging, and we've been trolling around on that lake, and all of a sudden it's a tree. It's like it comes out of nowhere. Yeah. And we'll look at each other and go, well, we're gonna snag, and within about 10 seconds we're snagged up.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Yeah, and I think all the risks, and obviously I come from a world of risk management, so I can totally respect and appreciate that, and the entanglement dangers. So maybe we can transition a little bit and talk about some of the safety protocols or safety recommendations that you can make to the audience. And Trevor, I know you probably have a couple of questions that you kind of want to bring about related to safety. But I think it's important to give people some background about what they need to know. I mean, I've seen people diving headfirst into the, rock shallows, and I just go, oh my gosh, they don't know the lake. So go ahead, Trevor. I'm sorry, I'll stop talking.
No, that's fine. So maybe you could just summarize what types of things should people be aware of in terms of safety, primarily summer, but we also have some avid winter fishermen who were out on that lake in the icy conditions. What can people do to avoid having to place that call to 911 emergency services, or to reach out to you guys through Facebook? What is the equipment that people should have on them in these situations?
Well, first I'd like to touch base on the diving part of it. When we're down there diving and everything, you see our boat out there. There's usually a dive flag with us. You'll see that diver down flag. You want to stay away from that. You don't want to come near. You don't want to come near the boat, see what we're doing. Beep from a distance, wave, say hi. We'll wave back. But if we're busy, we're going to try to continue with what we're doing.
And for people who don't know what a dive flag looks like, this is convenient. So you'll see it's a square most of the time with a red backfield and a white slash across it. So if you see that means diver down, and that could be on a flagpole on our boat, or it might be on a float visible in the water. So if you see that anywhere that you're going, that means there's a diver below. So you should not take your jet ski up to it and drive in circles around it and then pull on it to see why it's moving.
Give you a wide berth is what you're saying. Give you plenty of space. Yeah, I believe it.
That's the foremost important thing to us, as divers while we're down there. Just give us the room, let us do what we're doing, and follow us on Facebook. You'll see it, what we were doing there that day. It'll be there. Trust us. As far as in the summertime, once again, you can't beat your old PFD. Nick has a couple here as samples.
The infamous horse collar, which is about the most uncomfortable thing on the planet. But however, much more comfortable than a body bag. So this is sort of gone out of favor. You don't see those a lot anymore. This is, your typical recreational style PFD. This is for sort of whitewater boating, mostly like river stuff, but anything like this, the typical water skiing life jackets that you see, even the specialized equipment now that is really, I think, becoming more popular, the inflatable type suspender jackets. We've never had to respond to a drowning incident where somebody was wearing a properly fitted and properly fastened PFD. The suspenders, folks say, it's just so uncomfortable in the summertime because it's hot. The suspender, the inflatable type, that sort of alleviates that issue. We know it's not the most comfortable thing in the world to wear. You probably don't look cool, but that's the single most important piece of safety equipment that you can put on. The other thing is this. You know, just use your head.
Common sense.
You know, don't drive super fast by, you know, a dock with other people on it or by other boats. You know, observe those. If you take that boating safety course, you know, just refresh yourself on distances that you should stay away from other watercraft, how not to cross over, you know, wakes too close behind another boat if you're trying to give somebody like a bump on a tube, or water skiing or wakeboarding. You know, observe those safety distances. Don't drink and drive a boat. Put the cell phone down. You know, driving a boat while you're looking at a cell phone is almost as dangerous, if not as dangerous as when you're doing it in a vehicle on the road. You know, there's people coming, you know, and in some ways it's even harder out here because it's not like there's laned traffic. People are coming from all different directions. So just be, you know, have your head on a swivel, be observant, wear a life jacket, drink and drive.
And how about in the winter months when we have ice out there? Is there any essential gear that people should remember to bring out with them?
Your sticks, your pogo sticks.
Ice alls.
Can't beat them. I carry mine around my neck. Pull them off anytime. Comes with a whistle. You know.
Throw bag too.
Number 2. You can even have that in the summertime.
Yep. Yeah, we carry these in the winter. When I go ice fishing, I have this in my sled. I just take it out. This is always in my truck. It's always right next to my dive gear. When I go ice fishing, I take it out. I put it in my sled. 75 feet of rope, $45. It comes. I mean, it's well worth the investment.
Sure.
If somebody falls in, what's the first thing that you want to do? You want to run up to the side of that hole where they fell in. Now there's 2 of you in the water. With this, you can get that to them, and you know, within the first couple of minutes, they still have that fine motor function in their hands to grab onto a rope and be able to help do a self-rescue. You know, so this is a super important thing for winter.
About how long? I mean, this is probably a question. I'm sure you guys have the answer to it, but after somebody falls into that icy water, about how long do you have before things start to get pretty critical?
There's there's physiological differences with folks based on their size, et cetera. But, you know, within about 10 minutes, you're losing that fine motor function.
Yeah. So time is of the essence.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, we've been out on the ice. We've been out on the ice before in the winter months, and as we're walking, we're constantly drilling holes because we've seen that ice thickness drastically change. You know, from just 20 yards to what feels like safe ice to I better back up. And it you know, I think people sometimes take for granted, you know, living in the northern, you know, in the Poconos where it gets that cold. I think they take for granted that they can go out there and ice fish, and sometimes they don't realize the risk associated with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that affect ice quality, you know, stormwater runoff. If you're in a shallow, you know, you don't run into it so much here in the big lake, but some of the shallower impoundments around, if there's stumps or vegetation, you know, they tend to heat up faster. So you'll have thinner ice around those.
Especially this last year, I think, with the drawdown, right? When they started filling that lake back up, the outside looked like it was a lot thinner and more dangerous than you know, just 20 feet in. And I know I heard stories of people bringing planks of wood to get into that safe spot, which is just crazy to me. But I guess, you know, fishermen will be fishermen.
That's fine. Just, you know, bring your ice alls and wear it. You know, the other thing that we run into a lot is somebody will say, well, you know, we drilled a hole and there's 10 inches of ice. And there's a difference between 10 inches of black ice and 10 inches of rotten ice. You know, if you're standing out on the lake and there's been water on it all day long, you know, puddles and different things, and then all of a sudden that disappears and you see that ashen gray color come up, and you can look down, and it's called candle ice, or, you know, you get these cracks and fissures in the ice mantle that form that are vertical, and the water just goes down through them. It looks like the crystals in a chandelier. Actually, I believe that there is a video on our Facebook page. We did a
demonstration of it a couple of years back. Yeah, on Facebook there.
And once you break, you know, you might be able to walk out on that, but once you break it and you destroy that structure, all those individual candles just sort of fall apart. And you might have walked 20 yards on top of that, and you might have to, with your arms, break back through 20 yards of that to get on the more substantial. So those conditions can change really rapidly in the springtime.
And depending on where you are on the lake also.
Yeah.
You know, it could be bad down in Ledgedale and be good up here, vice versa.
Yeah. I think that's also great advice. I mean, even though we think it's safe, 10 inches, 5 inches, whatever it may be, it's good to have the tools that you need to protect yourself and avoid an unfortunate catastrophic event.
So we're nearing the end of our time here. I just wanted to quickly ask, is there any of all the rescues that you've done over the years in terms of personal objects, possessions, is there anything that really stands out? Is there a funny story you could share with us? Anything like that?
I recovered a wedding ring once. And the guy was in some, when I was joking around with you before, I mean, this guy was in some pretty hot water. His wife was none too happy that he lost his wedding ring. It was 20 some years old. So when I found that, I think he probably still has a little bit of a sore rear end from getting it busted by his family members.
To share a little story there, I got called out to search for a cell phone one time, a local person in the area here. And we couldn't find it. We knew where it was. It was just couldn't find it. So give it a call. It just happened. Maybe it'll ring. Maybe it'll light up, you know. Sure enough, it lit up and I was just happened to be there at the same time. I come up with the phone in my hand and it's ringing, you know.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So
Unbelievable.
Yep.
That's amazing. So in situations like that, I mean, obviously people want to give thanks. They want to support the team. You guys are doing a great thing. And I know that you said at the start of this is 100% volunteer efforts. Is there any way that the community or members who you guys have helped in the past, residents you guys have helped in the past, is there any way they can give support? How can they support the dive team? You know, is there fundraisers? Is there anything in the works that you guys have where we can kind of give thanks?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways. So we humbly accept financial contributions. We would also love to see you at any of the fundraising events that we have at the firehouse. We have the pancake breakfasts the Sunday of Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day. We have our world famous Tafton outing the third Friday of July, and the Saturday is right after that. We can't say third weekend because that's confusing.
Whoa, hold on, stop for a minute. I just want to clarify. Is that a golf outing?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure.
Kind of like a fair.
It's a fireman's picnic fair type of event.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that's fine. So, and then we have a fish fry in the springtime. So those are all fire company wide fundraisers. And the one fundraiser that we do have that is specific to the dive team is the 12-pack polar plunge. We had that January 2nd this past year. Or this year. And then we're still trying to figure out what the best date will be for next year, but that'll be up on there's a 12-pack polar plunge Facebook page, and then that's a joint fundraiser for our dive team and Ledgedale's dive team. And then the other way that you can help us out is if you've got a particular skill set or a little bit of free time or a desire to help your friends and neighbors, we'd love to see you come out. We're here. I mean, there's somebody at our firehouse every day of the week. We have paid EMS staff here. So even if it's one of the EMS folks, they could get you an application. Fire company guys are here every Thursday night, some Sunday mornings. And then as far as us,
we do. Yeah, we do. Most of our drills and trainings out on the lake. We don't do too much in-house, but you can always reach out to us on Facebook. You know, as your best way to get a hold of us is Facebook right now. And you know, one of us, myself, Nick, there's a few other members there that'll reach back out to you and, you know, take care of your needs and do whatever, you know, needs to be done.
And if you don't do Facebook, you can always call the firehouse and leave a message and one of us will get back to you.
We do have a website too.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. I think that's all the questions we had for you guys today. Do you have anything that you would like to share with us? Anything we missed? Anything you wanted to talk about?
I think you pretty much covered everything. Just like to say, you know, enjoy the lake. The lake's here for the enjoyment and the fun. So go out and have fun. Just be safe doing it.
Yeah. We'd much rather meet you at the Tafton outing.
Correct.
Than we would out on the lake. So
Sounds good, guys. Hey, thank you so much for all you do. We really appreciate it. You know, keeping the community safe and helping when things go awry. But thank you for the time that you spent with us and our audience today. Really appreciate it. I mean, pleasure meeting you guys too. So, Trevor, you have anything else?
That's it. Thank you very much, Rich and Nick. And hopefully you're not hearing from us this year, but we will keep in touch.
It's awesome to talk to you guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.